Hello again, Aries. So before we begin your reading this week, you have two cards here, and I have to say that what you're pulling here is a little different than what I'm used to seeing for Aries. This is a little bit of an emotional turn. So from Le Vampire, you pulled the past to prison, bitterness, grudge, refusal to let go. Now, the blessing with this card talks about having a chance to free yourself from the sadness and misery of another and to set an example of how to live freely without bitterness and regret. And then looking at that with self-worth from Chakra Wisdom, self-worth is about faith, self-love, and value. I'm looking at these two and I'm feeling like there is a need to break away from the sadness of the past and start to find your own self-worth again and to start loving yourself again as well. All right, Aries, let's see what's going on. Here's the energy coming through. The Emperor. Now, usually when I have all of these cards falling out, I usually think, oh, I'm just not shuffling right. I'm just having a bad shuffle. But I had a feeling. So here you are, the Emperor. This is a card of Aries. This is about order, power, and control. This is about getting your house in order. And yeah, I feel like, you guys have already been like on that track and you're continuing that for sure. But with what you're dropping here, there's like a need to, I feel like, deal with some emotional issues. But, here you are, the Emperor. And in the past, the Four of Wands, that's good to see coming through. So the Four of Wands is celebration. Now, in the Four of Wands, you have your foundation laid. You have your four walls up. You understand that there's still more work to do, which connects with the Eight of Pentacles, which is about putting in hard work. But here you are taking a minute to celebrate what you have done so far. And that's good to see. Yep, there's some more hard work. Man, you guys are doing some big changes here. The Page of Pentacles. And the Page of Pentacles is about having the backbone to continue doing like tedious work. This is messages coming through to create more in your life. So that page is looking at that pentacle going, what can I do to make more? And, the other part of this card though, and I feel like it needs to be said here, is that, you have to make time to play. I mean, you have all this work going on and it's like you're breaking away from the bitterness of the past, and with justice being the one that started that sequence. Yeah. But self-worth, I love it. I love it with you showing up as a signifier. This is about, finding that self-love again. And this card also has to do with manifestation. That receiving is an action as well. We talk about needing to take action to create the things that we want in our lives. But, this card is saying that when you receive, that is an action as well. But you're still putting in work. Oh, okay. Speaking of manifestation, look at the Emperor and the Empress. Oh my. So the Empress, the threes in tarot have to do with manifestation. To me, she is like she's the major. This is not only seeing the things that you want manifest in your life, but this is about enjoying it. So when you look at the sequence in the beginning and you start with, the Fool who's taking the leap of faith, and then you go into the Magician, and he's pulling from the divine source, wanting to create something new. The High Priestess is where all the possibilities lie. This is where everything manifests. And then the Emperor comes in behind her and gets everything under control. Now, this is one of the very few times that I feel like this may be a person. Because here you are, and then there's the Empress. But the Empress is all about fertility, abundance, indulgence, and the love of nature and enjoying the beauty that is around you. And again, it's about manifestation. My goodness, you're putting in some work here. And, I feel like There's this feeling of celebrating the work that you're doing because it's leading you to this area where you have control of your situation. But more so than that, you're enjoying the things that you're creating in your life. Oh boy, here we go. Your best path to follow. Oh, okay. So we're going to talk about the past here for a minute. You had justice, judgment, and then the past to prison. This whole group here suggests to me that whatever happened in the past, you need to let go of. Justice is saying to make amends for the past. Judgment is all about rising up to hear the call and reviewing your past with joy rather than regret. And what you're pulling in your past is this feeling of celebration. I think Lay Vampire is really trying to get that message home that, you need to live freely. And that is so Aries. I mean, you're the very first fire sign. You remind the rest of us to live in the moment. My goodness. So, judgment as your best path to follow. Yes. Get your house in order and be okay with the past. And then with justice, I feel like you're making some corrections for actions you may have taken before here. Because with you showing up as a signifier, yes, that's, again, it's getting your shit together. Oh, the influences around you. And it's no wonder why this stuff is going on. So right now, in your environment, the Five of Cups is emotional loss and suffering. This is where, in the image, the man is so focused on the 3 cups that are spilled that he can't see the 2 that are still there. This is about, not all is lost. And it's no wonder. I had a feeling that there was some emotional issues that needed to be dealt with. Aries does not like to stay stuck in emotional pain. When you guys go through that, it's like it needs to be dealt with and it needs to be done. To have it brought up again continuously is no good. It's no good for you guys, on an emotional level. And, you guys don't rule, you're not ruled by emotions. You're ruled by fire and passion. So for this to be lingering in your environment right now, it makes sense with what is going on here. So if you have some emotional issues going on, and if it has to do with another person, this is the time now to deal with it. To deal with it and go back to that feeling of, loving who you are and having that feeling of self-worth. Your hopes and your fears, and there he is, the Knight of Swords. So, again, seeing this in your hopes and your fears and looking at that above the 5 of Cups, it's like you're wanting to charge away quickly. You're wanting to move away from this, but there are things that need to be dealt with. And, when you look at the 8 of Pentacles, the Page, and the 4, it's like there's so much focus on what you're working toward right now. And it's like, that's great and all, but I feel like there may be some issues on, either a person or what you're manifesting in your life right now, because something needs to be dealt with here. And again, with what you're pulling, I feel like it has to do with something in the past. Now, the Knight of Swords, this is about being active and being brave and charging forward and not worrying about the obstacles that are in your path. So the Knight of Swords is looked at as the messenger with the pure message, but he's delivering it in a harsh manner. Now, seeing that in your hopes and your fears, this could suggest you needing to break away from past emotional pain. But, again, with that Knight there, in the position that he's in, it's like, be careful about charging away too quickly. Because, again, I feel like these right here are emotions that need to be dealt with first. Oh, and the outcome. No matter what happens to you right now, you're going to be just fine. Look at it. Oh, it's beautiful. The sun. The sun will outshine anything negative in a reading, so it's like this no longer exists. The sun. The sun is about feeling protected, feeling revitalized, having that energy of the sun. and having that childlike view of the world. It is saying that no matter what happens, you're going to be just fine. And it's beautiful to see. So I feel like for some of you, you may be working really hard at what it is that you're doing right now, and it may be involving work with what you've pulled. But it's like there's this need to reevaluate the past because, again, the past of prison, judgment, justice, the Seven of Pentacles. I mean, you really need to look at what emotional issues you have that are lingering right now and what you need to do to deal with them. You can't let these continue to manifest in your environment because this is something that will continuously show up over and over again as long as that's where you're placing your focus. So, and again with the Five of Cups, it sucks because we don't want to be separated from the things that we love, and this can also suggest a feeling of like receiving less than what you thought. But I really feel like what's going on here is that there's definitely a need to deal with some emotional issues. But no matter what happens for you, you're going to be just fine. And again, looking at these three, I feel like, you're definitely getting your shit together. I feel like with what you dropped and what you have here, that this will be dealt with. And again, there's a part of me that feels like because, putting the two together, yes. It may have to do with a person in your life. Now, with the past of prison, again, this is about being a free spirit and living your life. And there you are. And self-worth, yes. Find that feeling of love for yourself again. There's a difference between being arrogant and having genuine love for yourself. And I feel like this is what is needing to be brought to you right now. Like, especially with this in your environment. But again, it doesn't matter because the sun, whatever it is that you're working toward right now, I would just be careful about working too hard. Remember that you need to make time to play. And it makes perfect sense with the Empress sitting underneath that because that's about enjoying the things that you have in your life. But looking at it, this is beautiful. I think you guys are looking at a really good week. I would just deal with whatever emotional issues may be lingering right now. So there's something else here that I feel like needs to be mentioned because when you look at self-worth, it speaks about how receiving is an action as well. And definitely that is what the Empress is about, is receiving those things that you've worked for in your life. Seeing them manifest and enjoying them. And, you may be so focused on work right now and, looking at the things that you've done and celebrating them, that it's like you're forgetting to enjoy what you have. And then there's another part of me that needs to just mention something. Now, I know I do this a lot with Aries readings, but seeing these two and then seeing the sun, and then with the 5 here, I almost wonder if maybe some of you are wanting to experience this here, like that feeling of bonding. But regardless, again, I love that you are the one that showed up with everything that dropped out for you. I feel like maybe some of you are a little bit too focused on your work right now. And, you're definitely doing the right thing. You're taking control of your situation, where before it felt like, there was this feeling of, the manager position. Well, here you are now, the Emperor, right? Which is perfect. But there is a need to deal with some emotional issues right now because they're like lingering in your environment. And it could have to do with the past. Because again, when you look at Judgment and then into the world and back into the Fool, I mean, the whole sequence talks about reincarnation, and you can't take that leap of faith with the Fool if you're not okay with the past, and again, with past to prison, you need to let go of whatever bitterness may be lingering. And I have to wonder if that's why this is showing up in your environment. But now, You have in your hopes and your fears, which is, it's like, it's kind of good to see. And then on the other side, it's like maybe you're charging away a little bit too quickly here. So this could be you being active, being brave, taking action, right? But again, receiving is an action as well. So be careful about charging away too quickly from things that you may not be wanting to deal with right now. But the best part of all of this is that no matter what happens, you are going to be just fine. Seeing this as the outcome is saying that what's going on is not as bad as you think. It's like this no longer exists. And I love seeing it. So I would just look at what emotional issues you may be dealing with. And if they're connected with the past, there's a need here to correct that or be okay with it. And don't focus so much on work. Remember here, enjoy the things that you have around you. And again, find that self-love and that self-worth.